Right now, there's a lot of powerful spiritual seekers around the world who are going through difficult times, experiencing one challenge after the other, and finding themselves in a prolonged transition filled with uncertainty. And as bleak as this might sound, in my experience, what this is a great recipe for is connecting with the higher self and receiving what the cool spiritual cats nowadays call downloads, which is a divinely inspired idea that can change not only your life, but in some way, shape, or form uplift others and elevate the collective. And what this video is going to do is paint a very clear picture of what it feels like to have one of these downloads. And even more so, I'm going to go deeper later in the video and clear up some misconceptions about this whole idea. A lot of people are having them, I've found, but don't know it because of these misconceptions. And this video is going to hopefully equip you with the knowledge and the discernment so that you and others can benefit from this incredible phenomenon that might just be the answer to your biggest problems right now. The first indicator is that this idea, this download, evokes passion. There's a tremendous amount of passion energy present in your body when you're having these thoughts associated with this download. It reminds me of when I do my coaching calls. One of the things I do is I'm a business coach, and a lot of people who work with me, they want to know what they're meant to do. They want to know their purpose. They want to know what their business should look like. And it's always interesting for me to observe as they share their different ideas, because almost always there'll be one thing in particular that lights them up with passion. I'm sure you've noticed this as well when you're talking to somebody and they all of a sudden get to talking about something they're like really familiar with and really enjoy and really love. It's like a different version of them kind of comes out and emerges. And that's what you want to look for in yourself. If you find that you're just so excited and full of this passion energy, that's one of the main energetic qualities to these downloads. You're not going to have a divine download and then think, oh man, okay, I guess. It's going to be the exact opposite of that. Number two, sometimes some people will feel like a spiritual energy in their body. I just had an old close friend reach out to me yesterday, in fact, with his text message describing when he had like his awakening experience. And he said, Vic, I don't know how to put into words to describe what I felt, but as best I can say, it was a tingly type of energy that overtook his body. You will sometimes feel that. You will sometimes feel like some people call this Kundalini. Some people will call it the Holy Spirit, Chi. There are many other types of words to point to this unique type of energy that it's on the rare side. Most people don't feel this all the time, but occasionally they feel it. And of course, it stands out to them because it's unlike your your normal physical energy, feeling really good after a good night's sleep, or like that workout high after you run a couple of miles. It's not like that. There's something else to it that is difficult to put your finger on. But sometimes this energy is present when you are experiencing this like stream of consciousness, these downloads that I speak of, but not always. In fact, that's one of the misconceptions I'll talk about later. It doesn't always have to be this like spiritual experience. Sometimes it's just an amazing idea that lights you up. Number three, they usually come on fast. In fact, once you experience this download, you might find that your thoughts are just racing with like other like sub ideas connected to this one root notion that you're all of a sudden like is present in your psyche. In fact, I know for me, when I'm getting a download, because I'll oftentimes write them down as best I can. And my writing is bad to begin with, I'll admit, but even more so when I'm getting a download, it's like literally not even legible. I can almost never read it. And that's like the unfortunate thing, because I'm just feeling the energy. I'm getting these ideas so quickly and I'm like eager to capture them so I don't lose them. And you might find that in your own way. It might not be, where you're writing them down. I also do this verbally. When I have them, I'll sometimes talk to my wife, and I'll come off very like excited and ungrounded. and like just giddy. There's like a giddy gush of just information I dump on her, and it's a bit much sometimes. But that's how it is. It's a very energizing, exciting experience when all of a sudden your personality structure, your persona, your ego comes in contact with this completely fresh new idea that has very awesome and hopeful implications. And because of like it's like something that gets sprung on you or sprung within you, many times the mind will just be flooded with different ideas of how to bring it about. But one of the components is it happens very quickly. Number 4, these downloads have the potential to change your life in a dramatic and highly positive way. An example comes to mind. My friend Aaron Dowdy, you may have even seen him on YouTube. He has like almost 2 million followers on YouTube. Well, a long time ago, when he had like maybe 100 YouTube followers and was just very new at it and not very, not where he is now, and he had like another job he had to work. He said one day he was walking around his dad's house where he was living at the time, and he had what he called a download. It was just this idea, this like thought that popped into his head. And the thought was exactly this: if I film a YouTube video every day, in 1 year, my life is going to look completely different. And he said, basically, I've talked to him about this, all these different like things I'm talking about. He experienced when he had this idea, and he just sort of could feel, he could sense intuitively that this idea it could be true. And he chose to take it very seriously, even though if he was to look at his YouTube potential on paper at the time, there was no way he could have ever expected to have reached literally millions of people with that one idea put into practice. I was just watching an interview with one of my friends, Stephen Jaggers. He created this somatic release breathwork program, and he had the exact same thing happen. He said one day, one of his one-on-one like bodywork clients came up to him, and at the time he was taking, I believe, his clients through like some sort of breathwork experience. And his client said, "Hey, would you mind like teaching my friend what it is you do? I'm just curious if you can teach it." And he said when she asked that of him, it was like a light bulb went off in his head, like, oh, maybe there's something here to this. And he had all these different symptoms, the energy, the excitement, just this feeling like this could, like I could be onto something here. And then during this interview, he was discussing it. He said, I had no idea it was going to turn into this big worldwide thing where he's certified over 3,000 people over the last like 5 or 6 years. It just, these divinely like planted ideas, they have unspeakable potential for the collective and for the individual. And all it really takes is one really good idea. Number 5, it will ring true to you on a very deep level. Even if you don't quite understand it, even if you don't even like believe in your ability to create it or carry it out or where it's going to lead, somehow there's like a depth to it. In fact, it reminds me of like sometimes when I'm trying to come up with like a name for a business, a brand name, and I'm doing like lots and lots of research, and I have like a list of many different names. Once in a while, when the right one comes about, oftentimes it just comes into my head. But if I was to compare it to the list, I would feel a deeper connection with it in my like solar plexus, almost in my body. This resonates with me on a deep level, and I don't know how to really explain that, but you'll find that as well when you get these downloads. And thank God for that, because sometimes these downloads are not really easy to believe in. I remember I experienced this when I was reading this book called The Three Waves of Volunteers by Dolores Cannon. And it talks about some pretty out there stuff. It talks about how right now the planet is going through a huge shift in consciousness. And prior to this experience of transformation, the planet Earth and all its people are kind of heading in a very negative direction, which is not, that wasn't difficult to believe. um, but this book was all about how they were like souls on the other side, on the other side, like not incarnated, you might say. And they were given this opportunity to sort of incarnate onto planet Earth at this time to help. probably to receive and carry out these downloads to some extent. But anyway, it talks about how there's a lot of people right now who normally don't come to Earth who are here right now, and they're all here for a particular purpose, unified in the singular mission of uplifting the collective consciousness of humanity. I know it's out there, but I remember years ago when I read that book, it just like that felt more accurate, that felt more true than pretty much anything I've ever heard, as out there as it was. And this is good, especially when it comes to your own individual ideas about what you are to do, what you have the potential to carry out, because the mind is so skeptical, even of the smallest, even of the slightest venturing out of its normal and out of the unknown. The mind gets fearful and skeptical. So when you have this grand $1 million big idea sort of planted in your consciousness, it's good that there's this discernible sensation of that idea somehow, some way, feels more real and more true than anything. Number 6, many times this download, this idea, especially when it pertains to something you're going to do, it will be quite a stretch to your identity, to who you believe yourself to be, your limitations, your capabilities, your strengths, your weaknesses. This idea will kind of imply that you were mistaken about what you're capable of. It'll oftentimes stretch you beyond what you thought you were capable of. Case in point is this YouTube channel. You know, anybody who knows me even to this day knows I'm a quiet guy. I'm introverted. In fact, I've been going to this, as an example, I've been going to the same martial arts gym for like a year and a half, and I go almost every day. And I rarely speak. I sort of show up and train. I will here and there now, as of like after 18 months, talk a little bit to certain people. And I will say hi to most people, but just as an example, like you wouldn't think most of those people don't even know I'm on YouTube. I'm imagining, and I bet if they heard I was, they would be very surprised. They'd think, "Oh, this guy is like a YouTuber? Huh? That's surprising," because that's not in my personality, and yet here I am. But it was a stretch. It was like, really? YouTube? Being in front of the camera, talking to lots and lots of people, having a lot of attention? Not normally my style, but it was this download. It was like this feeling like, yeah, I could do it. It's going to be impactful. It's going to allow me to express myself creatively. It's going to lead me to a life of freedom. It's going to make a difference in the world. It seems exciting and fun. That was like one element of it. The other element is like, how is this going to happen? There's no freaking way. This is not who you are. And there's this juxtaposition of two completely different reactions to this random download. But just to say, it's common. It's common that you don't yet buy in to your ability to do this thing. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you haven't yet. And finally, number 7, very important here, is all of this is very short-lived. The excitement, the racy, exciting, giddy thoughts, the Kundalini energy, if you're experiencing that, whatever, all of this usually wears off and kind of recedes into the background as if nothing ever happened. And this is when the mind comes in and really, if it wasn't already questioning, it certainly is now. Because all of a sudden you don't feel that potent inspiration type of energy. All you have is the memory of that experience, which is very quickly downplayed by the mind, especially when you start tallying up all the reasons why now is not the right time. I'm not the person for this. This is not me. I must have been deluding myself. This is it, boop, boop, pop, 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 pop. Before you know it, if you're not careful, you can talk yourself right out of what might be the greatest thing you've ever encountered in your life. Imagine if Aaron, my buddy, just sort of like, nah, I don't have the time to make a YouTube video every day. I work 40 hours a week. Who am I? I live with my dad. He lived with his dad at the time. He didn't feel qualified, didn't feel credible. He would have very easily made a case as to why this is not the time or why that idea is not a good one altogether. But luckily, thank God he did, because look at what had happened. Look at me, even my 300-something thousand followers. That I could have very easily done the same thing, and many people do. And that's honestly like the primary reason I'm making this video, because I have a feeling right now there's a lot of people who watch my channel who are getting these downloads and doubting them and questioning them and forgetting about them and leaving them to collect dust somewhere on the shelf, and then feeling bad about themselves because they know deep down they're meant for something more. You're meant for something more if you're still here, if you're resonating with this message, that this is ringing true to you. This is a reminder to go off and do what you were already told to do. But anyways, to help you with that, I'm going to go ahead and now and expand upon this. 9 years ago, I filmed a video all about this. But I've grown and learned a lot in the last 9 years and worked with a lot of people. So now I'm going to share a few things that can help you bring these to life. The first thing I want to do is clear up a couple of misconceptions. The first one is this download has to be some type of obvious, in your face, mystical, divine experience. Most people aren't going to have even the tingly energy that I mentioned. It's just going to feel like a really good idea that lights you up and gets you excited. It's really like, it's just simple. It doesn't have to be like that. Many people, I think, because of videos like this, unfortunately, have this perception of like downloads being reserved to these mystically gifted individuals who meditate all day or something. It's not the case, man. Everyday people have these ideas, and I'm sure you've had many of them and plenty of them over the course of your life without any presence of kundalini energy or divine presence. It's more like this idea is exciting and I can't wait to do it. Another misconception is that you need to be capable. Many times these ideas are for like your future self. For example, I had this idea one time to become an online spiritual coach. I had many objections to it, as you can imagine. It's kind of a big title to give yourself, right? And yet I followed it. And once I started coaching people, I developed just almost immediately these like, I don't want to call them psychic qualities, but this enhanced way of reading people, you could say, that I did not have before starting. And with this newfound ability, I was actually quite effective and successful and helpful to my clients. But it didn't come beforehand. It came when I began working with the thing. And, a lot of people who have gone on to do really good things weren't very good in the very, very early stages, even the later stages, some of them. What comes to mind is a Fedor Emelianenko. He was this amazing heavyweight mixed martial artist who was undefeated for like decades. He was like heads and tails above everybody else for a very long time. But growing up, he had the passion, he had the download, he knew he was meant to do it, but he just wasn't very good. He was smaller than his friends and his teammates. He was also like less coordinated, and he learned slower. He had like everything going against him. But he worked at it, he worked at it, he worked at it, and eventually it just he became who he was. But you don't have to feel ready, and you don't even have to be good at it yet. You just have to be willing to practice, willing to learn, willing to engage, willing to be involved, opposed to thinking and planning and plotting. That's what most people do. If you want to really bring these ideas into fruition, you got to just be one to jump in and allow yourself to be a beginner for a while. Everybody is. Now, before I go, a couple of words to the wise. First one, keep it to yourself. Unless you have someone you're really certain will be encouraging of it. Most of us don't. Many times we'll share our wild ideas with even our closest loved ones. And we are met with like skepticism. We're met with, maybe well-intentioned comments to help us avoid failure, avoid embarrassment, not make a mistake, not go down a wrong path. And there's a variety of reasons behind this. Nonetheless, when you first get these ideas, it's you don't even believe in them yourself. So when you have other people saying, "Oh, no, I don't know about that. Is that really who you are?" You might as well just forget about it. You're gonna certainly talk yourself out of it. You got to protect your ideas. You got to guard them, from all the people who do not know how to hold a dream, which is the majority. Another thing to say is these downloads are oftentimes exactly how we can navigate uncertain times in our life. You might right now be going through a lot of uncertainty. A lot of things in your life are up in the air and maybe even breaking down, causing concern about your future and how is your life going to look? What are you going to do? How is it going to all unfold? You might not know. You might have no idea. As badly as you'd love some type of certainty, you might have none. This is like a perfect environment for these divine downloads to come And oftentimes they are exactly like your true north, if you follow them, of course. And many times the experience I just explained, like the falling apart of your life and identity and the uncertainty, oftentimes is, I believe, is because we're making space for these new ideas, which imply a new version of ourselves, which imply a new life situation to reflect that new version of ourselves. But going backwards, trying to repiece the old puzzle, it's not going to really work for you. What will work is courageously and boldly going for the idea that God has given you. And the final piece is to not be too insistent of how it's supposed to look. Many times your initial impression of that idea is going to be very different than how it actually looks when it's all said and done and the dust has settled. It's very easy to just not understand and we do our best to translate, oh, I'm going to be a YouTuber, I'm going to be this. And sometimes you're accurate. Many times it's some other a far off kind of version of that. Nonetheless, that's good. Thank you for watching, my friend. Before I go, I have a kind of a random question for you. Listen, I filmed this video because I'm going through this exact same experience right now in my own life. I've been sort of blessed with this idea that resonates with me, that feels bigger than myself. And I'm just curious of your honest take of how many of you might be interested in it. And what I plan to do, my version of this is I'm going to be teaching people how to run group breathwork ceremonies. I've been running breathwork ceremonies for the last 6 years, and I've taken probably over 100,000 people through these ceremonies. I've done ceremonies up to almost 4,000 people on Zoom, of course, at a time. And I know most programs, they just teach you how to do one-on-one, where many want to do groups and don't feel like confident in like holding a room, like I've learned to do over the last 5 years. So anyways, what I'm going to be doing regardless, because I feel this strongly about it, is creating this certification program that I'll probably run online, but also do like a 4-day intensive in Sedona, Arizona. So just put some comment below if that's something you might be interested in. I'm just trying to get a lay of the land of how many of y'all might be interested, just for my own kind of understanding. But nonetheless, regardless, thank you for listening to my little personal update here. And I wish you well, of course, on your journey. And I'll see you next time in the next video, hopefully. Peace out.